Hey everyone, Kyle once again. Welcome back to another movie review. Um, Now the next film I'm reviewing here in the month of October for the Halloween month. I'm reviewing another killer animal film. Of course, this one is one of the clearly it's been called the one of the more rip off of Jaws. There has been a lot of films that they say that rips off Jaws. After since 1975 and years after. And this one we're reviewing, which is I found it really entertaining though. I think it's one of the best Jaws ripoffs. Grizzly, released in a year after 1975, the year that Jaws was released. This was released in 1976. Like I said, this is the 30th anniversary 2-disc edition. See right there. And this is directed by William Girdler. Girdler, how his last name is pronounced. And before I get into the thing, this is one of the films that William Girdler directed. He directed a film. Was in 70. Which was another film about killer animals. Day of the Animals, which was released in, I think it was in the same year, I think. No, it was released in 1977. So he directed Day of the Animals, and one of them was in that film was Leslie Nielsen, and also including Christopher George and Richard Jaeckel, who both also appeared in this film as well. And then he also directed a film called Project Kill. His film was also starring Leslie Nielsen before he did comedy films. And the last film he did was called the Manitou, how it's pronounced. And in 1978 he died in the Philippines while shooting trying to finding locations for a 10th film he was doing, and he died in a helicopter crash, which is pretty sad, And then I enjoyed this film. Day of the Animals, I thought it was alright, but I enjoyed Grizzly though. Yes, even says right here by HorrorWatch.com, Jaws with claws. Yes, it is a ripoff of Jaws because it has a lot of similarities with it, But even despite all that, the film did pretty good at the box office. It was released in May 1976 and made $39 million, so it did pretty modest at the box office. So it did pretty fairly good. And then the reception has a 5.1 on IMDb. That's understandable because for a ripoff of Jaws, it has to be bad. But really enough, on Rotten Tomatoes has a 60% has a 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. Really enough, so pretty high for her. I guess they could maybe consider this called one of the best ripoffs, one of the best Jaws ripoffs. Yeah. So like I said, even though I find it entertaining even despite being called a Jaws ripoff. So but I found it entertaining though. So that's all I really cared about. If it was entertaining, then I'm good with it. And which I did. And so the film starred Christopher George and Andrew Prine and Richard Jaeckel, which like I said. The next film they did together, Christopher George and Richard Jaeckel, was in Day of the Animals as well, And also it said that in 1983 there was supposed to be a sequel called Grizzly 2. It was supposed to be either called The Consort or The Predator, either of those two, either of those two titles, and it was never finished, The film was never fully finished, so because it was probably so bad that it was never finished, But there was also there was a scene though. There were with 3 actors with Laura Dern and Charlie Sheen and George Clooney, really enough, and they all get killed by the bear, in that scene. And if you look on YouTube, you could probably find it, Yeah, those 3 actors, Laura Dern, Charlie Sheen, and George Clooney, they all get killed by the bear in that unfinished sequel, I thought it was kind of funny, you know. But and also on the special features and thing has on disc 1 here has the first trailer, you know, has a commentary with Joan McCall and producer David Sheldon, and then on disc 2 has original promotional documentary 1976 Jaws with Claws, featurette, photo, poster gallery, radio spots, reflections of Grizzly 2005, screening of the 1976 classic Shriek Show trailers. So now getting into the plot, but it opens up, you know, at where Andrew Prime, he's a helicopter pilot, you know, which comes into the similarities, which I will get to in a little bit, but you know, but also that's one thing I like. A good thing I like about the film. I like how it showed the landscape. You know, how this national park looked. You know, like of the wilderness. I thought it was really good looking atmosphere. You know, I like how the shots of the countryside, the forest, or whatever. You know, how it looked. You know, I did. So that's another thing I liked about it. You know, it's showing how guess you could say how the woods are, you know, or with the wilderness, whatever. How it looks really good, you know, like in Homeward Bound, the first film, and how the wilderness looked, you know. Like I said, the same thing about that, you know. I liked how the atmosphere of it looked. And then there's these two female campers, you know, they're camping out, you know. And also thing I liked about it, how this big huge grizzly bear, you know, this really does a number on of his victims in this film. Really enough, you know, like on one of the first female camper, you know, it sneaks up behind her, then all of a sudden, and wham, you know, just cuts her right arm immediately off, you know. Gruesome death, you know, like just immediately cuts her freaking arm off, you know. Yes, even though there's quick shots where you see the bear's arm, it looks kind of look fake, you know, but with another shots it shows of a real bear, you know. But just in those quick shots, you know, just when it shows the arm swiping, you can tell it's kind of a little bit fake, you know. But still, you know. But just looking at it, you know, how the bear is killing his victims, you know, this is how like I said, the female camper just like this, and all of a sudden swipe, you know, just takes her arm completely off and just, you know, messes up a little bit, and then she gets hung upside down, you know. And the next female camper runs into this like wooden house, and the bear just destroys the house and just does this with the girl's face going this way, you know, swipes her in the face, you know. And then Christopher George is a park ranger, you know. And that's the similar things comes to the similar things with Jaws, you know. Like Christopher George is playing like Roy Scheider's character, you know. The chief of police, and he's the park ranger who wants to shut down. He wants to shut down the park, you know, and same thing with him and the mayor, you know, in Jaws, you know, he wants to shut down the beach, but the mayor says no. It's the same thing with the owner of the park, you know, so he says no, you know. And Andrew Prine, he's a helicopter pilot, plays similar, you know, to Robert Shaw's character, you know. He even tells a story that's how he was in Vietnam, you know, and same story, similar stories that Robert Shaw told, you know, in Jaws, you know. And Richard Jaeckel is pretty much playing the similar character that Richard Dreyfuss did in Jaws. You know, he's like Richard Dreyfuss. He was the marine biologist. You know, and he's like what was it? He's an animal expert or something like that. You know, so it's kind of similar things. You know, similar situations. You know, that's why they call it one of the Jaws ripoffs. You know, so. But anyway, but Christopher George, you know, they find the girl that was in the destroyed house, you know, and they think there might be a killer bear on the loose, so they have scouring the woods, you know, and then another female worker, you know, goes to look at this waterfall, you know, she takes her clothes off, you know, just stands out of the waterfall, you know, and then all of a sudden you see the bear just grab her like this, and all of a sudden cuts away, you see blood in the water, you know. Or a night where there's a bunch of groupers and camping in this area, and then attacks another woman, you know, just tears through the tent, grabs her, you know, messes her up a bit, and then just throws her down to the ground, you know. And then next, and they find this this cub, you know, cute cub, you know, and they assume that this bear is a female, you know, maybe it'll come back for the cub, you know, take care of it, you know. So they use the bear as the cub as bait, you know, which I felt sorry for the cub, you know, cute little cub, you know, innocent, you know, and then it kind of and we find out they find out that it's really a male, like a very rogue grizzly bear, you know, and just messes up the cub viciously, you know, to like basically tears it apart though, even though you don't see it, you know. And it's like, I mean, this bear is just very dangerous, you know, how it kills the victims and even kills a very, you know, a cub, you know. Even Richard Jaeckel said, you know, even a rogue bear would eat its own kind, you know. So yeah, and then as they're continuing, you know, and there's a guy on watch in a watchtower, you know, and to see the shot of the bear, you know, pushing, you know, from the bottom, you know, of the legs, you know, and you know, he tries to shoot at, you know, it's the grizzly, you know, and pushes that watchtower over and kills that guy, you know. And this bear, you know, is just really, this bear doesn't basically doesn't fuck around, you know, basically, pardon my language, you know, but that's why basically how I put it, you know, this bear doesn't fuck around, you know, how it's like even the next it made me go, oh shit, you know, like even attacks a little kid, you know, even Tara's like picks him up like this, you know, and it's like you know, sort of moving around, you know, like this, and even when he drops him, you tell he drops him, he's like missing a freaking leg, you know, he's all bloodied up and he's missing a leg, you know. It's like, oh shit, you know, this even messes up a little kid, you know, he has no leg, you know, one of his legs missing, and then it attacks the mother and kills her, you know. So yeah, even like he says, like making me go, oh crap, you know, it messes up a cub, it kills a cub viciously, and then even attacks a kid, you know. Really messed up, you know. And even when Richard Jaeckel, he goes on alone to search for the bear, you know, he's riding on a horse, you know, try to use his deer for bait, you know, but then it comes along, and even another, you know, gruesome attack, you know, even the bear swipes his claws, and it takes a horse's head completely off, you know. I was like, oh shit, you know, it's like really fast, and just takes a horse's head completely off, you know. And then he goes and swipes Richard Jaeckel, you know, like basically knocks him out. Then he was gonna bury, and goes and buries him, you know, like how, so I guess how bears like sometimes store their food, you know, like things with like berries and stuff like that, you know, they bury their food and then come back for it later, you know. And then by the time he wakes up, you know, like this scene right here, you know, Richard Jaeckel looking like that, he's been buried, you know, and as soon as he gets back up, you know, the bear is there, you know. Then it fades away. Then when Christopher George and Andrew Prine find him dead, you know. So they're in the sky by helicopter, you know, and searching, and then as they touch down, you know, the Grizzly attacks the helicopter. They cannot fly, you know, and Andrew Prime goes and distracts the bear, shooting at it, you know, and tries to hit it with the rifle, you know, and picks him up, you know, throwing him around like this, you know, and bullets aren't doing any good as Christopher George shooting at, you know, and basically, but Andrew Prime, he dies, you know, and then there was another similar to Jaws, you know, when the Christopher George gets a bazooka and just blows it up, you know. That's another similarity to Jaws, you know, the shark gets blown up and the bear gets blown up, you know. So yeah, so then the film ends with Christopher George going towards Andrew Prime's body, you know, and as it's zooming out, you know, then the credits show up, you know. So yeah, I enjoyed this film, you know, even though it's a Jaws ripoff, you know. Like I said, the atmosphere to it, you know, when the actors they did fine, you know. Christopher George, Andrew Prime, Richard Jaeckel, they did good, you know. And especially even the kills, you know, which I have to get. I'm gonna have to stop right here and get to a short part 2, you know. So stay tuned for part 2 in a second, if you go to it.